Welcome to the Bougie Baldy Podcast with your host, Kellie Rhymes.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Bougie Baldy Podcast. Today we have a wonderful guest, Miss Monica Williams, and I'm going to introduce her in a few seconds. But for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Kellie Rhymes. I am a women's hair loss support and authenticity coach and the host of the Bougie Baldy Podcast. I help women go from insecure to confident relating in relation to their hair loss. Okay. So if you are a woman out there who's experiencing any emotional challenges, any mental challenges due to your hair loss, you feel like you've lost your identity, you've withdrawn from society and social events because of how you look, you may need some help. And I am the person who could help you rebuild your confidence and help you move forward. Okay. So if you are interested in working with me, the link for a call to schedule with me, you can find that in the show notes. So let's get to our wonderful guest because she is another person who is out here supporting women with hair loss and women in general. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Miss Monica Williams. She is a certified professional life coach, a published author, and visionary founder of I Am That Monica and Women of Truth, a women's empowerment initiative launched in 2014. With a master's of social work and extensive experience as a medical social worker, Monica is dedicated to helping women heal, grow, and embrace their authentic selves. Through speaking engagements, published works, and community leadership, she continues to uplift and inspire with a message rooted in resilience, purpose, and hope. Welcome to the Bougie Baldy Podcast, Monica.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into it. And the first question I normally ask women, because you are another beautiful bald woman, I always ask, what is your hair loss journey? Can you tell the audience what was your hair loss journey and how did that lead you to, if it did, lead you to the work that you're doing?
So, my hair loss journey was, I guess, probably a little different because I started noticing, which I'm sure a lot of people did, but I'll explain to you why I said it may be a little different. I
Mhm.
started noticing some hair thinning, and I didn't want to, of course, connect it to alopecia, but I just assumed that it was the stresses of life, you
Mhm.
know. And when I noticed that it went from thinning spots to bald spots, is when I took action. And I knew that I needed to get to a dermatologist to find out what was going on because I felt in that moment that it was something more,
Mhm.
something medically, because I'm like, this has never happened before. Not where my hair was actually balding in different spots.
Mhm.
And so when I got the diagnosis that I had alopecia, it wasn't something that I enjoyed. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to be associated with alopecia because I loved my hair. And so when I say my journey is a little different, I hear a lot of women talk about how, this is my crown. I love being bald and I'm glad I'm bald. Like everybody got their own journey, their own different stories. But for me, I never liked it and I still don't like it. I just embrace it, because this is my new norm. And so I show up unapologetically me and I don't hide it anymore. I tried the wigs, I tried the scarves, I tried the hats. I did not want to show this identity. I wasn't ready for the world to see this reality.
Mhm.
So again, when I say I may be a little different than some people with their alopecia journey, it's because I still struggle. I still have moments, but I'm embracing it every day. I get closer to saying, hey, this is just what it is. This is just who I am now. And I have to love all of me, with and or without hair. And my defining feature for me was my hair,
Mhm.
and so I had to realize and recognize this different identity and defining myself all over again. It's like, now who am I now
Mhm.
without hair? I knew who I was with hair, but who am I without it? Am I that same beautiful, confident woman that I was with hair?
Mm-hmm.
And so then I had to give myself a new definition of confidence, a new definition of beauty, a
Yeah.
new definition of just being valued, being loved, a new definition of self-identity, you know. So that's where I am currently on my hair loss journey.
And you know what? Thank you for sharing that. The fact that you still struggle sometimes. Yes, you walk out the house with your bald head, but you're not always comfortable with that. And that's something that women need to hear. It's
Mhm.
not that, you may see me on the podcast or on TV or whatever on screen. And yeah, I've embraced it just like you have embraced it. I'm okay with it now, but yeah, there was definitely a point where I wasn't okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
had to get to this point, and just like you're working to get to that point, and you've embraced it, but you don't love it. But hey, you're here, and you are still
Absolutely.
doing some amazing things, regardless of hair loss, and that is what we want to focus on because we still have a life, and we still have things that we have to do on this earth. So thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that. That was great. That was powerful.
Thank you.
Now reading through like your website and some information about yourself, you described yourself as having being an informal coach for other people for years before you became a certified coach, a certified life coach. So what were some of those key lessons you learned during your informal period that led you to what you're doing now as a life coach?
So when I say I was an informal coach, I believe most of us in the world, especially women, we coach our children, unbeknownst to ourselves. We don't call it coaching, we just call it raising our children if you have children, right?
Right.
Disciplining your children, teaching them the way to go, and that's what I did with my with women. I felt like I just always been like that listening ear. I've always been that shoulder to cry on. When I was a
Mhm.
teenager, I like sharing this story. My mom, God rest her soul, she's passed. But my mom, when I was a teenager, she used to say to me, "You need to be a counselor." She was like, "People are always calling you for advice." Well, at that time, I'm young, I'm a teenager. I don't know what she's talking about, right? And
Right.
as I got older, women were still drawn to me to share like their stories, what they was going through, and they would say, "Girl, I don't need no therapist. You are my therapist, or I don't
Hmm.
need this because I can just come to you. I know you're gonna tell it like it is. I know you're gonna be straight with me. I know you're gonna be honest." And I was always drawn to women who look like me. When I say look like me, I mean the challenges that of being hurt and having pain and disappointment and fatherless daughters and women who have been victims of any type of trauma in their lives. Like, I was drawn to women who looked just like me with the same shared experiences, and women who would just, I could be anywhere, and it was like a magnetic drawing to people, and people drawn to me. I've had so many women say, "Oh my gosh, I never shared this before. I don't know what it is about you that I feel comfortable talking to you about this. I haven't even talked to my own family members or my own friend about this." And I noticed, and it took years and years and years and years of my life for me to
Hmm.
realize that it was a gift.
Yeah.
This is a gift. This is not something that everybody can just naturally do. It's easy for me. What's come easy for you but hard for others is your gift, is your passion. And that's when
Mhm.
I realized that I want to be able to do it on another level. I've already was informally doing it.
Mhm.
Like I said, unbeknownst to me, I've been coaching my whole life, but now I wanted to do it on a professional level because now I wanted to learn more about coaching and
Mhm.
what it is and what it's not, so that I can be even more effective and efficient for women who I feel as though is going to need my services in any capacity of their life.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Now in 2014, we talked about you founded Women of Truth.
Mhm.
Right. So can you talk to us about the group and what impact it has had and what do you do as far as improving women's lives with that group?
Mhm. So, Women of Truth, when I founded that group, it's just that, Women of Truth. I wanted women to have a platform where they can be exactly who they are. There are a lot of women's groups, organizations, church ministries, a lot. that we have to put on a mask. We have to put on a facade. We have to be fake. We have to be phony. We have to pretend. We have to show up as our representative, not as who we really are. And
Hmm.
so Women of Truth was just so fitting for how I live my life. I do the best that I can to show up as my authentic self, as my real self, as my true self. And women want that. We need that. We got so many roles. We have so many hats that we wear. We
Hmm.
are this, we are that, we are everything to everybody else. And so our identity has been lost. And so I wanted women to have a safe space to come, and we would meet every other month, where we would meet and get together, and we would just have certain topics that we would discuss, that we would talk about. But everything that we talked about and that we shared was to take off another layer of mask.
Okay.
So that
Hmm.
women can unveil the mask and show up and be who they really are. And I often say, God can only bless who you really are, not who you pretend to be. And a lot of us are showing up pretending to be something that we're not,
Yes.
and it looks good. And other women are like, oh, I wish I can be like that. And they don't even know who they are. So you want to be like somebody that's not real.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, I'm tired of that. Women need to know that it's okay to hurt. Whether you love the Lord, I don't care how much praying you do, I don't care how much words you know. It is okay to say, I am not okay today. And
Hmm.
I wanted that platform where women can literally like be naked, not physically naked, but just unveil themselves, all of who they are. Like,
Yes.
I am not in a good space today, or my marriage is falling apart. My children are acting crazy. I'm about to lose my mind. I don't have the money that people think I got. I don't have the success that people think I have. I wanted women to be comfortable to release the pressure of trying to carry the weight of somebody else on their shoulders. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why Women of Truth, came about,
Okay.
because
But
we needed that. We needed that platform.
yes, definitely, definitely, because I'm sitting here thinking, of course, authenticity is my thing too, and
Mhm.
how people, even just in my own life, when you tell them no, and when
Uh-huh.
you stand on who you are, and if it's different from who they are, how it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them
Uh-huh.
treat you a certain kind of way. So even standing in your authentic self is not going to always be easy, because there will be some people who, don't like it, who
Uh-huh.
may shun
Uh-huh.
away from you, and you have to be comfortable with that. So having a place for women to really just let it go, like you said, unveil and just be, and not feel judged about that, is what I think every woman needs.
But you know what I was thinking? A lot of people, when they are upset with you, um, because you are being in a space they wish they could be in.
Yeah.
You are
Hmm.
showing up as your authentic self, and people love that, right? But they can't show up as who they really are, because they are afraid of, if people really knew, would they still love me? Would they still like me? Would they still invite me? Would they still give me the likes and the loves and the amazing comments on social media? So they got to
Hmm.
keep performing, and it's exhausting,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so they look at you and they like, she living her best life. I sure am. Why? Because I'm showing up being who I really am. I am not, there's so many people that's a public success, but a private mess,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And
Yes.
it's like, so people, when they see people who are genuine and people who are real and authentic, and they live their honest truth, it makes them upset. So
Oh,
it's not
yeah.
it's not per se you that they're hating on, but they're hating on the fact that you can live in your truth and they cannot. They
Yeah.
choosing not to, because they have the people who they showed up to be. That's the person that people love. So that's the person that they have to continue to try to be.
Yep. Yep. And it also kind of makes them uncomfortable.
Ooh, yes,
Because if
child.
you're an authentic person and you're coming to talk to someone, you're coming to talk to them authentically. Like, you don't want to have the small chit chat that you don't really care about. You're genuinely
Mhm.
asking questions and trying to have conversations to get to know someone. And that
Mhm.
makes a lot of people
Mhm.
very uncomfortable, because they're not used
Absolutely.
to that. Like you
Mhm.
said, they're used to the fake. So
Mhm.
everybody's
Mhm.
just being fake around them. They're being fake. So when they come to somebody who's like really like, girl, how you doing? And really want a for real answer, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know this. you know,
I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not familiar. Who are you? I don't know, So yes, we definitely need this. Now, did that lead you to your brand now, which is I Am That Monica, or do you do both, or do you do now just focus on one or the other? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I'm more focused on I Am That Monica brand,
Okay.
mainly because Women of Truth has taught me. And it led me on this journey because I knew that there was more to me that needed to be exposed, that
Hmm.
needed to come up and out of me. And what needed to really come out of me was the trauma that I experienced, right, in life, the childhood trauma. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that there are a lot of Monicas out there in the world, right? A lot of Monicas that experience what this Monica experienced in life, And
Hmm.
so I needed to get to a space and place in my life where I was comfortable with sharing all of that trauma. And
Yes.
that's why I wrote my story, because that trauma needed to be shared. It wasn't just for me. It was for some other women to heal through the same things that I am healing through in this very moment, So I
Hmm.
Am That Monica brand is for me to share with other women such as you and other women all across the world. Which Monica are you? Where do you find yourself in my story? Are you
Right.
that Monica that was molested? Are you that Monica that had, was a teenage mom? Are you that Monica that was a high school dropout? Are you that Monica who was in toxic relationships? Are you that Monica that could not, emotionally connect to people because of the trauma? Are you that
Hmm.
Monica who had failed marriages with S on the end? Are
Yeah.
you that Monica, that could pop off, go from 0 to 1,000? Like, which Monica are you? And to
Hmm.
know that somebody told me yesterday, they was like, you don't look like what you've been through. Well, that's the point of healing. God cannot heal what you hide, And so a
Yeah.
lot of us are hiding behind the trauma or hiding in the trauma, pretending that it didn't happen. And so I Am That Monica brand is to be able to expose it and to be the face of change and the voice of power so that you too can be on this healing journey with me.
Yes. Ooh, I am
Mm.
feeling. Look, I got to give you some snaps. I'm feeling it. Okay, so through I Am That Monica, you just mentioned writing and telling your story, right? Now
Mhm,
you have written several books.
mhm,
And these books are deeply personal
mhm,
experiences ranging from trauma and healing from different challenges
mhm,
to motherhood and navigating life as a Black woman,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So what inspired you to really share these really vulnerable aspects
mhm,
of life to the world?
mhm. So my book, The Unveiling, I had wrote another book prior to The Unveiling as well. But
Mhm.
my book, The Unveiling, Pain, Trauma, and Truth, it does it talks about my childhood trauma, and it talks about what led up to me becoming the person that I became because of the trauma, right?
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't ready for years and years and years of my life to talk about what I had gone through. And then I didn't even realize it to be what it was, and that was trauma. I didn't know it was trauma. I thought it was just a way of life for me. I didn't
Mhm.
know that I was a victim of trauma. And then
Mhm.
once I realized that and it was exposed to me, this is why you act like this. This is why you acted like that. This is why you experienced this. This is why you used to do this. This is why you used to do that. When that was revealed to me, I was like, oh my gosh, it was a heavy weight to carry around my entire life. I had trauma responses every day of my life. My trauma started at 7, right?
Okay.
I lived in that trauma for 43 years,
Okay.
where,
Mhm.
and I'm 53 now. And so
Mhm.
I have been on my healing journey for the past three and a half years now. But I lived in that trauma for 43 years of my life before I realized that that's exactly what it was. Like, it was for real trauma,
Mhm.
and you became this person. Trauma shaped me. Trauma molded me. Trauma changed the trajectory of my life, the course of my life. It changed my behavior. My behaviors. It changed how I was going to think, how I was going to move, how I was going to breathe, how I was going to live. Like, trauma did that to me. And when that was revealed, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do something about this. I need to share this. Others need to know about this, because I am not the only one who carried around those deep, dark secrets. I'm not the only one who, like I said, trauma responses, who is living a life and they can't explain why they are the way that they are. I am not the only one. My story was not just for me, but it was for somebody else. Even if it was just for one person, somebody else needed to hear my story, my journey, my
Yes.
trauma, so that they too can say, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. And to know that I'm not, to know that someone else experienced it just as I did, the way that I did. It gives people power. It gives people permission to now come out and come through their trauma experiences.
Yeah. And I want to unpack a few things there because what came up for me is I think it's something about turning 40 or about to turn 40 when you really start looking within and being like, okay, what's going on? I
What's
need to
going
fix
on?
some things. I need
Mhm,
to, and that's when a lot, I know with me, my healing journey started at around 40, a little bit before, and
mhm,
I'm still on it.
mhm,
It's just something about that age where you get to reality. You like, hold on, I don't like this. I don't like that. I'm
mhm,
like, hey, I need to fix some things, or I don't
mhm,
need these people in my life. What's going on? And let's get down to it because I need to live
mhm.
my life and be loving it every single day.
Absolutely.
So that is one thing I wanted to point out too. And then the other thing is, it's just I think it's probably a generational thing where we just did not talk, especially in the
Mhm,
African American community. We
mhm,
did not talk. Therapy was not a thing that was like positive.
mhm,
It was like therapy. You crazy or
mhm,
like it was very shunned
mhm.
upon.
Absolutely.
So I think that's also why it has taken so long for a lot of us to start healing at a later age because it just was something that was not promoted. It was like don't talk about it. Yeah, it happened, but we're gonna keep it moving. Yeah,
Mhm,
it happened. And I think the other part is it has happened to other women or in our
mm.
families and things have happened to them where they were forced to say, okay, close your mouth and keep it moving and keep it going because you got to, right?
That's
And
right.
that's what
Mhm,
they told us to do.
mhm.
And we are now learning that it's not okay. We got to
Not
deal with
okay.
this. And
Mhm,
not only do we have to deal with ourselves, we got to deal with family members, our moms, our other people, because they've experienced things too. Now, whether
mhm,
or not they want to unpack that and heal it, that's on them. But
mhm,
at least when they see you showing up differently and
mhm,
you changing how you react to different things, it will affect them in some way.
mhm.
It will maybe trigger for them to be like, all right, well, maybe I need to go talk to a counselor, or maybe I
Right.
need to do da da da.
Mhm,
So you do have to be a representative. And just like you said, you wanted to write your story so that other women can know that they're not alone.
mhm,
Same thing as far as the work I'm doing with the hair loss. Like I was like, I don't want to talk to people about my hair loss. Like that was nothing I wanted to do. But
mhm,
God was like, girl, you need to talk to people. And he kept telling me over and over again, you need to talk about hair loss. And I kept saying, no, I'm not.
mhm.
So finally I was like, okay,
Right.
I am. And then this is where it has taken me because I know now that, like you said, I am a representative. I mean, I'm not here to be like, oh, I'm the beacon of light or anything. No, nothing like that. But I am a representative to someone who out there who is still
Mhm,
covering up their hair loss, who's
mhm,
still depressed, who's still going through, some things because of their hair loss. And if they
mhm,
see someone like myself or other ladies that I bring on to the podcast or, other people, they can see, okay, look at her. She's doing it.
mhm,
She has come to the other side. She's embracing it or whatever. She's moving forward. And that's all it is. Just making sure that you are an inspiration to somebody else.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I'm loving the work that you're doing. Now, you talked about unveiling. Let's talk about baldness with boldness. That's
mhm.
your other book that you have. Go ahead and tell everybody about that one.
Now, so that book is an anthology book. I was a part of that anthology. I wasn't the visionary behind that book. I just was able to share my hair loss journey
Mhm.
with I think it's probably about 15, 16 women
Okay.
that was able to share their hair loss journey, whether it was through alopecia, cancer, or some other form of medical condition that you may be experiencing, that causes you to lose your hair. So that's what that was for me. And it was very empowering to be able to get it out because in my writing, I realized how much I really was hurting over the loss of my hair.
Mm-hmm.
There were some parts that I talked about in my section of the book where I cried, you know, and it just came out of nowhere as I was writing and then had to, you know how you write it and now you reading it. So when I was reading what I wrote, it was like this burst of like tears and just crying just came. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really bothering me. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was really a hurtful place for me. Because sometimes we go through like, oh no, it's okay, it is what it is. As we try to tell ourselves because we don't really want to deal with the reality of what we're really going through or what we're really experiencing. Again,
Right.
we have learned to mask our pain. We
Mm-hmm.
have learned to mask what it is we're really feeling and what we're really going through as if that we are not allowed to feel that,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt it. So writing my portion in the book made me feel what I really didn't want to feel. Made
Yeah.
me made me to accept what I really didn't want to accept. You
Mm-hmm.
know. So that's what that book did for me.
Yeah, and people, I say this too, that I guess you didn't people don't realize it, and I didn't realize it either until I got into this work that I do. You have to grieve your hair loss.
Mm,
Or even if it's anything a part of you that changes, you have to grieve the loss of whatever that has changed about yourself.
mm-hmm.
And we don't learn about that. We don't think about it that way. When we think about grieving, we're thinking about only, oh, if somebody dies. But whenever you lose a part of yourself, you have to grieve it. If you even lose a relationship, you have to
Yep,
grieve it. These
have to
things
agree.
are a part of you and they're attached to you in some form or fashion. So you writing that book and realizing like, dang, I didn't know I was gonna be affected. That was a part of your grieving and that
Mm-hmm.
was helping you move forward.
It
So
was
it was
helping me move
meant for
forward.
you. Yeah, it was meant for you to do that. Meant for you to write that book and get that out, right?
And I was a part of the book. I talked about like the hair thief, because I called alopecia a thief.
Mm-hmm.
You knocked on my door without my permission. You came in and took something from me without my permission. I did not give you. Don't give a thief permission to come in and rob you and
Right.
take something from you. You don't open up your door and welcome the thief in, right? They come
Mhm.
and they take something from you that you did not give them permission to take. And that's how I felt about alopecia. That's why I called it a thief. Like you robbed me of something. You took a piece of me that I did not want you to take. That was valuable to me, and you
Mhm.
took it. So
Mhm.
that's how I felt. And like you said, I was grieving, and I still am grieving,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna take some time. And it's like
Mhm,
everybody else says, it's gonna
mhm,
be on your own timeline, and that's when you'll be able to get to whatever's next,
mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
Now, your other book I want to talk about really quickly is
Mhm,
Women of Color, which this one highlights the diverse experience of Black women.
mhm.
So, can you talk to the audience about that book?
Yeah, so I am the visionary of that book. Um, this may sound crazy, but I was not aware of colorism.
Oh,
I was not.
really?
Yeah, I know it's crazy. I was
Okay.
not. I know, and I was not aware that that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And partly maybe because I was part of the problem, right? I
Mm-hmm.
am the acceptable Black. And
Mm-hmm.
you got to be real about that, right?
Yep.
I am the acceptable Black woman because of the shade of my skin, right?
Right.
And so I really wasn't aware because I wasn't affected by it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so when it came to me that colorism was a thing and I needed to share my experiences that I didn't know was colorism related, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I asked some other women to be on the journey with me and asked them would they like to share their stories about being a Black woman, dealing with colorism. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and a few of the women were darker skinned women. We had brown skinned woman, and then I mean women, and then one of the young ladies that wrote her story, she was as we call them, mix. She has a white
Mhm.
mom and a black dad, and then me, myself, and we shared those experiences and what it felt like being a black woman in the skin that you're in. And I realized again in that moment, when I tell you God is doing some healing in me on so many different levels in my life, well, this
Mhm.
was one of them. Well, I was part of the problem that caused the hurt, the pain, the shame, and the guilt of my black dark skinned sisters. I was a part of them being hurt and being
Okay.
shamed,
Mhm.
because I thought, me being black and me being a light skinned woman, that I was better
Mm.
than my darker skinned sisters, that
Mhm.
I somehow was prettier than them because I was light. And I didn't think that dark skinned women were pretty, you
Mhm.
know. And so when there would be some type of disagreement or argument between me and a darker skinned woman, my thing was, you just hating. You just
Mhm.
mad because you're dark
Okay.
and I'm light. That was a hard truth.
Mhm.
That was a hard pill to swallow, right? And
Mhm.
when I realized and looked back over my life and all the stories that I had to tell in the book about myself, I realized, wow, I owe my sisters an apology.
Mhm.
I am sorry that I hurt you. I am sorry that I was a part of such an ugly system, you know.
Yeah.
And we still dealing with that to the day,
Mhm.
And now that I know, I'm telling you, like, I think all women, I don't care what shade of your skin tone is, we all are beautiful, and
Yes.
it's not about the outside that makes you beautiful anyway, because you could have the most beautifulest face ever, but if you ugly on the inside, you just ugly.
Yes. Yes. And
And
I
it
ran
ain't
into
got nothing to do with
plenty of
whether
those
you're
people.
black, white, dark, light. It ain't got nothing to do with any of that,
Yep.
So yeah, so that was another experience for me. And I realized throughout life, like, the pain that I caused, that I was a
Mhm.
part of, And so sharing all those different types of experience, and, my sisters that was a part, when I say sister, I'm talking about like sister friends, that was
Uh-huh.
a part of this journey with me. I was like, wow, reading their stories, like, wow, it's powerful. And
Yeah.
so many women need to read that book, The Women of Color, because you're going to find yourself there, whether you want to or not. You're going to find yourself, whether it was you being hurt by someone that was a black woman with lighter skin, or whether you were the black woman with the lighter skin hurting the black woman with the darker skin,
Mhm.
but you're going to find yourself in each and every one of our stories, because they are unique, they are different, and they all came from different spaces and different places. Number one, because of the age that we are. I think the
Yeah.
oldest person that shared her story was like 60, I want to
Okay.
say, and the
Yeah.
youngest was 25. So we coming from different eras,
Yeah.
and it felt different for all of us.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so that book was very impactful.
Yeah, that sounds impactful because I'm sitting here
Hmm.
thinking I never was that one. I mean, I know I'm lighter skinned, but
Hmm.
I was never that one to look at darker skinned people any kind of way. But I was treated meanly by, I noticed this as I got, like maybe in high school,
Hmm.
a little bit older. I was treated meanly, even though I was being nice to other people. But if they had some, not all, but some females with
Hmm.
darker skin would be mean to me, and I
Hmm.
didn't understand why.
Hmm.
But
I
as
experienced
I
that
got
too.
older,
Hmm.
I understood why, because they were
Hmm.
being treated a certain way by
Yep.
lighter skinned people,
Yep.
and they thought that I was that same person, even though I
Hmm.
wasn't.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
deep. It's
It's
very
very
deep.
deep. Hmm.
So yeah, that's another good one. Everybody, you
Yeah.
all make sure you check all of those books out because those are all some really good topics.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's kind of move forward because I know for the sake of time, I don't want to hold you too long.
Hmm.
I know you do some speaking engagements.
Hmm.
Do you currently have anything coming up that you want to share, or any events or anything you want to talk about in regards to the work you're doing that anybody out here that we can support?
Hmm. I just had an event actually on Saturday, and
Okay.
the theme of that event was, "It's time to unmask the mask," and it was an experience. And I think that it's something that I want to do moving forward. Like I want to take that experience on the road.
Hmm.
So because I want so many women to see it, to experience what it was like to literally um show up, like to see it. You know, we're visuals. We like to see things, right? And
Hmm.
to literally see the fact that you are wearing a mask. Soon as somebody asks you how you're doing, you put your mask on and don't even realize it.
Hmm.
Because your response, whether it's true or not, fine,
Yep.
with
Yep.
a
I'm doing
smile,
well.
I'm fine, or blessed and highly favored, girl. God is
Hmm.
good. You know, all this stuff that we say, but when you visual, when you can see that that's what you're doing, when you can see it, because what we did was that we gave them an experience. It was multiple women sharing stories that were masked. You
Okay.
know, it wasn't our genuine selves. And then we departed from each other. And individually, one by one, we went back into that room and we unveiled.
Okay.
We took off the mask and then we revealed who we really were, how we really felt. And it wasn't what we gave the people initially, you know. So when you
Right.
have that visual, you know, of, oh my gosh, like I do that, I act like that.
Hmm.
Oh my, I, that's me right now, you know.
Hmm.
It is so important. That's what I want to take on the road. That's what I want to continue to do. That's my next thing that I want to show to my audience is women. So to women is that ladies, and we do it well, and we can do it well, and we can dress it up well. We dress up our pain very well. We dress up our disappointment very well. We put on the wigs, the eyelashes, the you know, the eyebrows, the makeup, the designer clothes. You know what I mean? The red
Hmm.
bottom shoes. Like we dress it up so well, right? And it's
Hmm.
time for us to unmask the mask that we're wearing. So that is my next project. That is what I want to do. I want to take it all across the world. I want people to experience the experience of unmasking the mask that we wear each and every day, whether
All
it's unintentionally or intentionally. Because some of us, we intentionally put on a mask.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You are right. You are right. Okay. Well, I think that was a good way to end the podcast. I was going to ask you what words of inspiration you would provide, but I feel like that was the word of inspiration that any woman out there who's struggling with anything, that will help them. So,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Monica, for that. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, no problem. Now, for you guys out there, before we wrap up the show, or the podcast, I should say, I want to make sure you guys know that I am producing the Bougie Baldy TV show, which is an extension of the podcast. And it is going to feature businesses that provide services or products that support women, whether it's women with hair loss or women's health and wellness in general. Any business that supports them, they will have an episode to talk about what they do and maybe demo or show whatever their products are. Or their services are. So that is coming up. And I'll also have advocates on to talk about their experiences with hair loss and different things as well. So if you are a company that has a service or product that supports and uplifts women or has hair care, hair loss, any of that, and you're interested in having an episode to showcase your business or your brand, I am going to put a link in the description for you to book a call with me so we can talk about you being on the show. If you are a person who's an advocate or wants to be a part of a panel, and kind of show your expertise that way with some other people on the panel, we have those spots available as well. So if you're interested in being on the Bougie Baldy TV show and showcasing yourself, your brand, your products, make sure you book a call with me so that we can talk about you potentially being on the show. All right. So that is the end of this episode of the Bougie Baldy Podcast. I hope you guys received some valuable information, received a lot of golden nuggets from Miss Monica because she was dropping them. And make sure you pick up her books if you are interested in them. Miss Monica, can you tell us where they can find your books, where they can contact you and reach you?
So they can actually go to my website, and my books are located there where they can purchase. And my website is iamthatmonica.com. And they can also go on Amazon as well, Barnes and Nobles, BAM, wherever you get your books, whatever bookstore you tend to shop at, my books are there. But if you want to go to my website, all 4 of those books are listed. Again, iamthatmonica.com.
Okay, and we'll also have the link to her website in the description of the show.
Okay.
All right, you guys will enjoy the rest of your day. From my heart to yours. Bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Are you a woman struggling with hair loss, feeling unattractive and insecure? At Limitless Mindset Coaching, we understand the emotional toll that hair loss can take. In just 90 days, we help you transform from feeling lost and embarrassed to radiating with confidence and joy. Imagine building your self esteem, discovering the perfect camouflage technique to cover up your hair loss, and receiving tips and tricks that can help you with your hair loss and embrace the new you while connecting with a supportive community of women just like you. Say goodbye to those negative emotions and hello to a positive mindset. Picture vibrant new relationships, walking through the room with your head held high, participating in social events and activities again, and living a life filled with happiness. Are you ready to take that first step? Well, visit www.limitlessmindsetcoach.com or click the link in the description today and let's embark on this empowering journey together.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Baldy Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe